What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my next entry in the series highlighting your participants for CT Mass Battle 2, which is coming at you on Saturday, May 4th of 2019. If you're watching this as I release it, that is this coming Saturday. And today we're going to be talking about Burkish, Dramatik Burkish. Burkish newly sponsored as of 2 or 3 weeks ago now, joining the likes of Scion, Redblade, and Barlow on Team Dramatik. And for every other player in this series, I felt it prudent to talk about their tournament results and go back over some of their placements at the events that they regularly participate at. But for Burkish, that feels like it's not necessarily needed. And that's because I think 95 times out of 100, if Burkish is at an event in Boston, Burkish is winning the event in Boston. I've been regularly commentating Boston area Street Fighter V events over the last year or so, and I can probably count on one hand the number of sets that I've seen Burkish lose in tournament. I don't say that to kiss his ass or to overly hype him up or something. I think that's just the reality. In the Hambam episode, I showed a tweet from Hambam that I think it's the second or third time he sent a tweet like that about playing Burkish in grand finals, and I think that's just the reality of playing fighting games in this area, is that Burkish is that dominant. Other players, a lot of other players invited to this event can take sets off of him, but in a double elim tournament, 3 out of 5 winners, losers, grands, it's hard. Burkish is really solid. As an unfortunate side effect of that, it was really hard for me to find footage of Burkish losing, especially considering I set the constraint for myself of avoiding sets wherein the invited participants are playing against one another, which meant that I couldn't look at sets of Hambam or Zaf beating Burkish, because I had to disqualify those events from the runnings. So what I am left with is that today we will be looking at 2 games of Burkish. One from when Burkish attended Next Level Battle Circuit with the rest of the Traveling Controller Awaken qualifiers at NLBC 154 is the headline, but the overlay says 144. I believe it was 144. But it'll be a match between him and iDrop. And then for the set he loses, we're going all the way back to Red Bull Conquest in Boston from last September, where in the top 4 he played a while and lost that set in a really close set. And there's a lot of interesting stuff to highlight there. Even though he loses, there's a lot of really good pro-Burkish stuff to highlight there. So we're going to hop right into this. Had some technical issues there with the video buffering. Hopefully that doesn't show up too much in the edit. So with Burkish, it's even difficult for me to kind of come up with where to start for Burkish. He's just a really all-around solid player. One of the things that I thought to highlight about this round in particular is his damage is so optimal. He's hit iDrop 3 times. iDrop is 1.5 combos away from death. In going over a lot of Burkish's footage, he doesn't leave damage on the table. It's really a testament to his ability as a player to be able to always be playing for those optimal situations. And so you see, he's always converting the damage. Bites in the stand short. Now, I don't know why iDrop plays V-Trigger 1 here, or V-Trigger 2, rather, sorry, and the knee drop meets in the air. Burkish's use of knee drop on Urian is something else that's really good, and what I found is it seems as though when Burkish loses, one of the things that you see is that they do a decent enough job of suppressing knee drop. Plus frames, caught him backdashing with headbutt. He'll do a fair bit of knee drop into headbutt, and I imagine what that is obviously it'll catch certain things, but headbutt is throw immune, so if you're doing a delay tech after the knee, or if they're, trying to hit a button and they're hitting the wrong button and they're expecting for you to delay tech, it'll catch them doing that. And it's an option he establishes, which ends up making them more wary of doing stuff after knee. That's a nice shoulder through the fireball there from iDrop. EX Chariot Tackle also ends up working really well for Burkish. So one of the things, Urian is one of those characters that has sort of a say no to neutral move in the form of EX Chariot Tackle. And it's really going to discourage you from hitting buttons outside of footsie range where he can do it. It's also going to discourage you from walking forward, to be frank. It's one of those moves that tends to frustrate people because they so much as tap forward on their arcade stick or their controller, and they're eating an EX chariot tackle into a knockdown. And it almost doesn't even matter that his turn is over after it, because what he's done is he's in. He eats maybe one poke that he blocks, so there's no real risk of a mix-up there. He's -2. He's out, but he's in footsie range. Also, an understated thing that I was thinking about in watching this set yesterday is EX chariot tackle has a pretty decent amount of pushback on block. So even on block, he's getting a little bit of movement into the corner. And, you know, if the Karen player, or eyedrop in this example, is going to do a block string after, it's pushing both of you away from each other, but it's slowly pushing eyedrop even further into the corner. And along with discouraging walking forward or hitting buttons in neutral, it opens up the ability for him to play with his either dash-in game with dash-in crouch strong, which we'll see a bunch from Burkish. I feel like that's his bread and butter. I don't know why I feel like that. I imagine it's something every Urian does. But something about when I see Burkish winning, crouching strong comes out in spades. But also, stand fierce. Lots of stand fierce, and he'll use that really effectively for V-gauge management, which we'll touch on a couple of times. No bite on the shimmy. Stand fierce into low forward, catching you trying to walk back. Eyedrop's getting a little bit of that dash-in style stuff there. I wonder what kind of adjustment Burkish ends up making, trying to get cheeky himself behind the mirror, but Eyedrop not having it. Oh wow, that cross-up was nuts, but an unfortunate drop there. And just catches him on wake-up. Into the reset, blows the V-reversal. Yeah, so I had alluded to V-trigger management, and I'm going to bring this back a minute so that we can watch it, but pops the V-reversal there. Stand fierce with the expectation that you would V-reversal after, and if you don't, you can go to the EX chariot tackle, which he ultimately ends up V-reversaling after. In that situation, you can play to be wary of Karen doing certain options into V-trigger. It allows her to take certain risks that become safer on a V-trigger cancel. It lets her convert into better damage from situations wherein she otherwise might not get it. And Burkish, in a couple of situations, what we'll see is once he's got that dominant position and he is in a game state wherein the winning strategy for his opponent is some sort of V-trigger activation into a huge momentum swing, you'll see Burkish playing around, trying to not even bait, but just to burn the V-gauge in the form of V-reversals. And I say it's not a bait because it's not something that you necessarily see him punishing. It's just he will do something which will prompt a V-reversal to surrender the turn so that he can burn the V-gauge. I have one or two other examples of that as well that we'll go to, including a clip that Burkish himself posted to Twitter. But comparatively fast game one there. It was just a really dominant neutral performance, and when he's always generating all the damage that he can get, then he needs the bare minimum amount of openings. Nice challenge. That toward strong is something Burkish will do both as a poke to challenge you for walking forward a lot, but I found he'll also use it as a tick to try to catch you guessing in a mix-up. Where at certain ranges he'll do it, and then the mix-up is that into the overhead or the crouching short. We just saw him do it into as a poke to challenge forward offense again. With punish, nice. And a good challenge on the knee, but I feel like this adjustment is coming too late. It's a 2 out of 3 set too, so there's only so much. EX chariot tackle, and I drop in the corner. And his anti-air is so on point. Burkish is just an all-around very solid player. That anti-air, his crouch fierce was already active when I drop was like at the top of his jump arc. Yep, no bite on the shimmy. Yep, catching him trying to shimmy. This is something we're seeing. I've highlighted this across a couple of players, but if you know that someone is playing that sort of walk back, walk forward footsie game in a space where you can challenge the movement, or if they're trying to shimmy you, going for a low poke isn't necessarily a bad option. Yep, the anti-air again. iDrop not wanting to play this ground game because he's not able to play this ground game. And that's another advantage of going for that EX Chariot tackle so frequently and the EX knee drop. No challenge again, and does something on the plus frames, not respecting it. On the EX headbutt. I went for the overhead there. That's a whiffed knee, but... So, I mention that Burkish has good V-gauge management. Not only is it true for his opponent, but the decision he makes here is for his own V-gauge. He sees Karen is in V-trigger. She's got some bar. If iDrop gets a decent hit, he's going to do a pretty significant chunk of damage. Burkish only needs a sliver of V-gauge left to get Aegis. So what does he do? He backs off, charges the armor, and EX Chariot tackles, consuming the armor and generating the V-gauge for himself to finish off and get Aegis Reflector. And then catches iDrop trying to generate the extra space for himself. That was a really solid game. Great use of the knee, particularly the EX knee, to get offense off of that. iDrop didn't respect it. It's not always apparent exactly how plus it will be, or for the regular knees, whether they're plus in the first place. EX Chariot tackle shuts down neutral enough that it discourages iDrop from playing footsies, or trying to move forward. And it ends up being that Burkish just walks him from corner to corner through the span of the game. If iDrop goes to the air, Burkish is ready with his Crouch Fierce anti-air, which leads to great damage. And the V-gauge management at the end of it is removing tools from iDrop's toolkit just as soon as he gets them. Alright, so hopping back in, hopefully the edit isn't too janky and making this capture all line up. So this is going to be Burkish versus a While, which happened at Red Bull Conquest last year when they came to Boston. It was last September. So not necessarily Season 4, but once again, like I said earlier, if only the guy would lose, I'd maybe have more footage to use of him losing. So this ends up being a set that he loses, but there's still a lot of really interesting stuff to set up here. Just in terms of other strengths of Burkish. One of the strengths of Burkish is the way in which that he always seems to know what his opponent is going to do on defense. And more than just that, when the opponent pulls out a weird option, he makes a mental note of it and he hangs on to it. Already establishing the super dash-heavy playstyle here is Burkish, and no challenge on that knee. Jesus, that crouch strong. A While makes great use of that button through this whole set, too. Also, a great thing about A While, I'll sort of bring this up sooner than I otherwise need to, but his crouch short into EX legs or his crouch short into legs buffers are all really good. And he ends up doing a fantastic job of stopping Burkish in these gaps. Once again, that crouch short, he gets so much mileage out of it. Punishable. Yep, no challenge, but another pixel will do it. Oh, that fuzzy blocking there from A While was really interesting. Is he dead? Yes, he is. Yeah, the fuzzy blocking there from A While to try to capture all the options was really interesting. I think he switched between crouch and high blocking during the overhead's activation like 2 times. Challenging that forward momentum there with that standing fierce. So, I'm going to bring it back because it's going to be important. Because this pays off later. Instant jump into head stomps from A While. Just a nugget to keep in mind, because I'm sure Burkish kept it in mind here. Yesterday was the first time, I watched this set a bunch of times, and yesterday was the first time that I ever noticed that he did that there. Nice challenge there with the fireball. We didn't see it much in the eye drop game, but Burkish also has a really solid fireball game. A wake up headbutt. Isn't able to, doesn't play around the crouching strong, rather. Challenging the forward momentum there is Burkish as well. Nice tech there from a while. Yeah, the Aegis doesn't end up doing much for him here. Finds the round. Yeah, a while's generating a lot of damage, and he's not getting hit very much. And when he does, it's not like in the last game where Burkish in every hit was getting super optimal damage. Challenges something on wake up. EX knee just ends up getting out of the corner, but it works. Yeah, once again, challenging that forward momentum does a while. He's punishing Burkish for leaving these gaps to get these micro walks and trying to make stuff happen. Burkish hasn't earned it for a while to do that against a while yet, and a while's really blowing him up for it. It's something that you need to keep in mind when you're playing against an opponent like that, is if you're doing these micro walks and they're hitting you for it, it means you've not earned it. You need to scare them from hitting buttons. Throw on his wake up, and a while takes the first game. This set ends up going 3-1 a while. Buffalo FGC popping off in the background for their boy. A little bit of context for anybody that wasn't there. Buffalo didn't have their own Red Bull Conquest team or Red Bull Conquest qualifier. Nice anti there from a while. So they ran a series to bus people out. So they came out with like 2 buses worth of people to the Boston qualifier. Street Fighter was last, and New York had won both Guilty Gear and Tekken beforehand. Boom. As I interrupt my story, because this is more important. Let me get back to it. Wake up, head stomp kicks again from a while, explicitly to blow up a tech attempt, or a throw attempt on a while's wake up. The most of the times that I had watched this, I saw this moment. I didn't see, up until recently, I didn't see it happening that first time in the corner there, but this is a really interesting option, and obviously it works against a character like Urian because he's got that taller hurt box, and it's would be good presence of mind in general even after that to still catch him landing with the crouching jab anti-air. Keeping it safe. Nope, challenging the forward momentum himself now there is Burkish. Big damage. Doesn't have the bar to kill. Catches into the overhead. Oh, the mirror saves his life. And wake up super. I think there's part of me that... no, it would have crossed up. I was debating internally whether it would have been better for him to block it and have a while land on the mirror. But the mirror was very close to running out, and it could have been a cross-up, which would have put Burkish between a while and the mirror. So, if you've got it, spend it. Challenging that forward momentum there is Burkish. He's really good at utilizing everything in Urian's toolkit. This mauling in the corner, EX chariot tackle. And something critically important here. We didn't see iDrop really effectively taking his turn after EX chariot tackle. There was a reticence there. But with a while after EX chariot tackle, he's taking his turn every time and blowing up Burkish for, you know, trying to steal more pressure. Ooh, works out really nicely for him there. How dare you hit buttons. Burkish's Urian mirror set play is so good. Okay. This entire sequence is just really great. I'm going to go back for the whole sequence. First of all, wake up Aegis defensively is something that I'll see Burkish go to, I don't want to say very often, but often enough. He'll pull it out. He'll vary which mirror he puts out. It's not like it's always close mirror or always far mirror, but it saves him here. A pixel left, and the collision of the hitboxes pushes a while out into the mirror, working in favor for Burkish's trade. Gets the full mileage of the mirror. Now for the mix-up. Burkish loves to go for this type of restand mix-up. There's another really good Urian player in our area in the form of Andre, who his Aegis play is usually much more, he'll play for the optimal damage and get the hard knockdown, and then go for a meaty mix-up on your wake-up and cover the meaty mix-up with the mirror to generate an additional mix-up. But Burkish, like 7 or 8 times out of 10, is going for this restand left-right. And he'll go for, you have to deal with low short versus full charged roundhouse versus throw into the mirror. It's a bad time. Gets the overhead. Now he's not going to be able to kill. Gets another restand, and look at that. There's a concept in screenwriting that I've picked up from watching video essays called the rule of threes, and it's that you set something up, you remind them, and then you pay it off. The third time a while goes for that option. The first time, it's a demonstration that he has it. The second time, it punishes Burkish for trying to throw him on wake up. And the third time is a situation where Burkish needs the throw to win the game. And Burkish remembers and waits and anti-airs a while for going to the air and takes the game. I say it a lot when I'm commentating, but I think one of the most impressive skills that a very good player will have is their adaptations can come. The better of a player you are, the faster in which you make these adaptations and you recognize what your opponent's doing. When you first start learning fighting games and you first start playing fighting games, it's usually pretty difficult for you to really articulate exactly why it is that you're losing in any given situation. It might take you a long body of games before you can make sense of what needs to change. You get better and better, and eventually you get to a point where you can make adjustments across a tournament set. You lose a game, you pick it up again in the next game, and you figure it out. Then you get to a point where you can see something once or twice, and you're not going to forget it. And I think this is a really great moment to demonstrate. And this is in a set that Burkish loses, but this is a great moment to demonstrate the capability of Burkish. Fool him once, shame on you. Fool him twice, shame on me. He didn't get fooled twice. The first time, didn't work. I didn't even notice the first time when it happened in that first game in the set. But the wherewithal to, in this high-pressure moment, next hit stun to take the game with a pixel left. No resources available. And to remember that that is something that a while has demonstrated that he'll go to is, I think, really astounding. Takes the game. A little bit more downtime. Let me scroll forward. Save us a little bit of time. Going under the fireball. A while does a really good job. So Burkish here playing a little bit more of a fireball game. Once again, more than we had necessarily seen in the eyedrop set. And I think part of that is because Chun-Li's buttons are really good. Chun-Li obviously a great footsie character and a good walk speed too. Able to blow up Burkish for doing this stuff. Jesus, the throw offense. And a good anti-air there from a while too. Burkish counter-poking now. But of course he's going to try to counter-poke there. He needs to make something happen. Oh, doesn't follow up the combo there. I think he was late on the link because he thought the standing strong hit later than it did. But Burkish there, once he has V-Trigger, going for more counter-pokes because he wants to fish for that V-Trigger activation. But if I'm a while, I'm filing that nugget away and recognizing that he's not respecting these gaps. Oh, catches him holding down back on wake up. and a nice shimmy, but doesn't follow up. No, okay, maximum greedy stuff. But it's also brilliant because who off of a crouching strong with punish is going to go for a one-hit reset, but instead walking in for the throw to be able to get the stun off of it. Although I suppose perhaps he was never going to commit behind the crouching strong, and it was always going to be crouching strong into throw for the stun, and it just happened to work out such that the crouching strong didn't stun. But he's got a fair amount of meter here, but I think he does kill. No, goes for another mix-up. The headbutt for... So after a while got punished for one defensive throw option, Burkish then goes for the other option to blow up a wake-up throw attempt. Nice air-to-air with the jumping short. But the headbutt will blow up a throw tech attempt, because obviously the headbutt throw invincible. And now a while going to the air against Burkish. Burkish's anti-air game usually pretty good. Plus Frames respects it with the low short. So that neutral jump there is critical, and so is that one. What he's doing is he's recognizing that a while has V-trigger, so a while's game plan is shifted. And it has now become activate V-trigger. So you're looking for crouch strong, you're looking for or crouch short, or you're looking for the flip kick, the equivalent of the upside down kick. The nomenclature of the move is lost on me right this moment, but common V-trigger activation buttons just became incredibly more likely of an offensive option coming from a while. So we're seeing a lot of these, but low profiles under the standing medium kick. Ends up working really nicely for him in a situation where, oh Jesus, and the Xbox Live stuff. -2, still my turn, EX Spinning Bird. But it's something to establish. You know, if you've got the resources and you really want to keep the turn, like it's a risk, but obviously in that situation the game is on the line. It's not like you're up around where that risk is really bad. He doesn't want to lose the turn. He doesn't want to deal with the mix-up at all. I think, let me actually scroll back as well. Apologies. Yeah, no, it's even more pertinent because in that moment, if Burkish gets a turn, it's into an Aegis activation. So it's not just a question of losing the turn and having to deal with a mix-up. You're losing the turn and getting dominated. You have to eat multiple mix-ups in a row, any of which could kill you. The risk-reward is heavily skewed in terms of being more belligerent and stealing back your turn. But Wake Up Spinning Bird there again, the intensity sort of living with a while a bit there. And that's something that is generally Burkish is pretty good about. He's usually pretty good about sniffing that stuff out, but you don't get all of them. Dash in, crouch short. Oh, a big whiff punish here for a while. Oof. Walking in a range behind that. I think it's medium punch. Once again, the nomenclature is lost on me right this very second for Chun, but ends up having to burn his Aegis just to get out of the corner, and then you immediately see him going to more of a fireball game. Slowing that game down, recognizing that a while is trying to go in behind walk forward strong or dash in strong or crouch short, and just threatening that space a little bit and building a little bit of meter for himself. Oh, backdash gets away from the knee. No anti-air there either, unfortunately. Oof. Keeping him the hell down there is a while. Oh, just out of range for that jump in. That would have been a really big jump in for a while. Oh, and that's brilliant. A while empty jumps, and he's in a range where if he hit any button on incoming, it's extending his hurt box, and he gets anti-aired. Instead, because it was an empty jump, Burkish's Crouching Fierce whiffs because he's swinging for the spot where a jump-in medium kick would be, and instead a while sitting behind it and whiff punishes the Crouch Fierce. That's such a really cool read that he recognizes that Burkish is ready and jumps in that spacing, and he's ready for the whiff punish. Now, Burkish really stuck in the corner here. That's a really big Aegis, though. Oh, and unfortunately, backdash blowing up the throw attempt there. And Aegis gone. Doesn't cash out for super, but goes for instant overhead. He hadn't gone for that aggressively once. He had gone for it defensively 3 times, and then hadn't gone to it again. Delay tech. Oh, that's a really nice hit confirm. Blows all his resources here, but now he's got dominant screen position. No, Burkish stun going down now here. Trying to steal extra turns by looping into these knees. V-trigger available now. Look for him to do low forward. Nope, low short. Set play. Oh, gets thrown out of his own shimmy. He really wanted to bait these shimmies out of a while, or bait the throw techs, and it simply wasn't working for him. Yep, and then the crouching short. Literally the same situation as the previous round, but instead of going for the overhead, goes for the crouch short. I mean, the ultimate story of that match, to me, is one of the other things that I noticed it, and then it was, I didn't end up having the second to mention it, but A Wild did a really good job of making the knees whiff, which meant that when Burkish was going for knees and trying to aim to give himself an additional turn because of the knee and get in for free, it wasn't working, which meant A Wild ends up with frame advantage if he doesn't get a whiff punish altogether. So Burkish ends up on the defensive a little bit more often. We saw a lot more defensive Aegis, even wake-up Aegis in 1 or 2 situations. And A Wild made great use of stalling the forward momentum out of Burkish. We even saw, he didn't really get to do quite as much of the dash-in, crouch-strong type of stuff. We saw more fireballs. We saw him forced to play a more defensive game. And it worked out nicely for A Wild there, obviously taking it 3-1. And I would call it a close set even at a 3-1. But working out for him. So I'm going to highlight one more thing as another example of V-gauge management. All right, so I'm going to use one extra clip just because this is what initially prompted me to talk about the V-gauge management out of Burkish. I saw him post this clip, and then I noticed it additionally in that eye drop match and figured that was something worth talking about. This is from last week's Balance Patch Grand Finals. And I'm breaking my own rule a little bit here because it is between Hambam and Burkish. But there's something in here that I think is really cool. Burkish ends up needing to make effectively a 1-pixel comeback. And the way in which that he's able to do that, I think is really interesting. Finds the throw on the Aegis. I'm specifically talking about the V-gauge management on the side of Hambam. Looking for low forward into Aegis. Nope, just Aegis raw. So both Aegis only really going for... So this is the beginnings of it. 1, 2... That was 2 straight stand fierces, which cost Hambam 2 V reversals. Not dissimilar to what I mentioned in some of the previous 2 games, that V-trigger activation allows for Hambam to take certain risks that, without having that resource available to him, become moot. Furthermore, it makes certain things that Burkish might want to do less lucrative. Certain moves that you don't want to do because on V-reversal you'll get knocked down and now you need to deal with the knockdown Oki. Or even just losing the turn. If you don't get Oki, you don't have frame advantage. You got knocked down. The gray life even sucks at the life that Burkish is at here. So he changes his game plan once Aegis is gone to be able to draw out these V reversals. Another one. And then Hambam tries to go back, is wise to it, gets whiff punished, and dies for it. Coming from nearly 100% life. So the sort of thing that makes you tweet about how you feel when you know you're going to play grand finals against Burkish. So, solid player. Really effectively utilizes his old toolkit. Does a good job of really using the leverage that he gains by being able to shut down neutral with knee drop and EX chariot tackle. But if you can get him on the back foot, if you can make these knees whiff or anti-air these knees, I didn't use the match, but he had a harder time against Kaba and Mena when they came up to BP. Also partly because they were effectively able to anti-air those knees. It keeps him from being able to steal his own turn. It puts him on the back foot more. No 3-frame available to Urian. His reversal that he does have, a little bit unconventional in the way that it behaves compared to the rest of the cast. And you force him to have to use the Aegis defensively, where the best case scenario for you is now that he has to burn both mirrors just to reset to mid-screen, and the ball's back in your court. But a fantastic competitor. I don't know that it would be a surprise if anyone said that he was the favorite to win going into this event, but we're going to have to see. I'm really excited to see how it works out, and I'm really excited to see what all of these other players are bringing to the table, because you know he's the one with the target on his back. So I hope you all will tune in to watch Burkish as well as the rest of these players all on May 4th. And with that, I'm going to sign off. Thanks for watching. Peace out.